Okay, so fifth grade mathematicians. Last night I asked you to look over the rules for the factor game and to look at the vocabulary. So before we go on, we're going to review the vocabulary because the vocabulary is going to be very important for you to play this game and play it correctly. So remember that a factor is a number in a multiplication number sentence. It's the numbers that you multiply together in order to get a product. Now, a proper factor is all of the factors excluding that number. So if you're talking about 12, you cannot include 12 as a proper factor. 1, 2, 3, 6 are all proper factors of 12. So we exclude 12. All right? So those are important for you to know. All right, so in playing the game, and I'm going to play against Greg Heffley, and so I've got Greg's score and my score up here. So that's one way that you can write down your score. Just have your score at the top and then the two names of the people who are playing. So then say, for instance, I'm going to be using red and I'm going to use blue for Greg. So if I decided that, and the first person, which I'm going to go first, Greg is being a gentleman. So I choose a number. So say I choose 24. And right now I'm not really using a strategy. So when you're playing this game the first time, kind of keep track of what things gave you the best number of points and what things didn't, so that you can start to formulate a strategy. All right? So if I circle 24, I automatically have a score of 24. And there's nothing else on the board. So then Greg needs to figure the proper factors of the number that I circled, 24. So the proper factors of 24 are, let's see, we've got 1 times 24. We've got 2 times 12. We have 3 times 8. We have 4 times 6. And then we start 6 times 4, we start going over again, okay? Now remember, proper factors will exclude 24. And so Greg can circle 1, 2, 3, 4, 6, 8, and 12, because those are the proper factors of 24. So with my blue marker for Greg, I can circle 1, 2, 3, 4, 6, 8, and 12. Boy, I didn't do a very good job picking the first time, did I? So in order for Greg to find his score, he needs to add up these numbers. So right here we've got 20, 26, we've got 30, 33, 34, 35, 36. So Greg has a score of 36. So Greg right now is winning. So now, since I went ahead and circled first, then Greg found all of the proper factors. He circled those, added it up in order to get his score. Now it's his turn to choose a number, and then I have to find the factors, just like I did over here for Greg, of that number. So if Greg decides to circle 28, so Greg circles 28. So Greg automatically has a score of 28. Okay? So now I have to determine all of the proper factors of 28. So I've got 1 times 28, 2 times 14, 4 times 7, 5, 6, 7. Okay, so then I'm back to the top again. Okay, so I am going to circle, and I cannot use 28 because I'm only using proper factors. So I take my red marker and I circle. I can't circle 1 because it's already circled. I'm just out of luck with that number. I can't circle 2. I'm out of luck with that number. I can't circle 4. 7 hasn't been circled yet, so I can circle 7, and I can circle 14. So my score then would be, when I add 7 and 14, I get 21. All right. So now it's back to my turn. So this time I'm going to circle 27. All right. So now Greg has to figure out the proper factors of 27. So 1 times 27, 2, no, because it's an even number. 3, yes, 3 times 9, 4, 5, 6, 9 times 3. So I think that's it. That's it. So 1, 3, and 9, because 27 is, since it's a proper factor, I cannot use 27. So I'm noticing that 27 is a pretty good one to circle because there aren't very many factors of 27. So Greg can look over here. He's got 1. No, he's already got that. 3. No, but he does have 9. So that only gave him a score of 9. I forgot to write my score down. I chose 27. So I did pretty good on that one. All right. So this time it's Greg's turn to circle a number, and he circles 30. So now this time I have to figure out, so Greg circled 30. That's pretty good. All right. So I'm kind of noticing some numbers that are going to yield pretty good results, pretty good scores. So I've got 1 times 30, 2 times 15, 3 times 10, 5 times 6, and then I've got 6 times 5, 10 times 3. All right, so remember I cannot use 30 because I'm only using proper factors. I have to exclude the number. So I can circle 1, 2, those are already done, 3 is already done, 5. So I can circle 5. So 5 was one. I'm going to have a hard time remembering which ones I circled this time, so I'm going to underline it over here. So 5 I just circled. 6, no. 10, I can circle 10. All right. So 10. What about 15? Oh, I've got 15 too. Oh, that's good. Maybe I'll do pretty good on this one. 15. And okay, so I've got 3, 5, 10, and 15. So that gives me 30. So we each got 30, ironically enough. We each got 30 points. Now, this time, I get to circle one, and I circle 25. All right. So let's check this one out. So 1 times 25, all right, 5 times 5, all right, well, that's all I've got. So Greg could circle 1, 5, and he can't circle 25 because that's not a proper factor, because you can't use itself. So we've got 1 and 5. Well, those have already been circled. So if you go back to the rules, it says that if you circle a number and the other person can't circle anything, then you both get 0 for that turn. So I get a 0 and Greg gets a 0. So now, what about if Greg goes back and he circles 22? So we got to see if I have anything that I can circle. All right, so 1 times 22, when we know 1 has already been taken. 2 times 11, when we know 2's already been taken. So what about 11? Can I circle 11? So yes, I can. So since I can, Greg gets the 22 and I get the 11. Okay, And you keep going until there's nothing left to be circled. So if Greg this time circles 16, I've got 1, 2, 4, 8. So none of those can be circled. So Greg and I would each get 0. So circling 16 is no good. It doesn't yield any new points. So the only other one I can see, I think, that gives me more points, I think would be the 26 here. Whoever circled the 26 would get, the other person would get the 13, because 2 times 13. So when each player, then when there's no other things left to circle, then the game ends, and then you add up your score to see who the winner is. Okay? So hopefully you were noticing some numbers that were yielding some pretty good results. And hopefully me writing this over here to the side, you were able to see how to figure out those factors and figure out which things to circle. So I've given you 4 different boards to do the game. So I'd like you to do 2 of the games, and then I'd like you to answer some questions about what strategies you could use for the last 2 games in order to ensure that you can get more points than the other person. So start formulating a strategy, and then there's a few questions for you to answer about your strategy before you finish the 3rd and 4th game. So when you upload your homework for this week, your homework, playing a game, if that's homework, I want you to show me the board that you filled in. And I know there'll be 2 different colors on there. You might not be able to show me the 2 different colors when you upload it, though, because it'll come out in black and white, possibly. So I want you to show me that you did the boards, so you need to send that to me. And then you also need to send to me the answers about your strategy. So the paper that you'll get that has the questions about the strategies, the questions for the factor game and the product game are on the same page. So don't answer the ones at the bottom, the product game, until after you play it, because the idea is to give yourself some strategies in order to help you to win. Okay? All right. So if you have any questions about the game, you can always email me. I want you to have fun this week with these games and figuring out factors. Factors are important for next year. All right, so I want you to keep thinking, keep watching, always stay curious, and have fun playing the factor game. See you tomorrow.